this is not his first time, telling the officer, oh, no, I'm fine. It's just slippery.
Defendant is not yet 21.
Because the case backs are just so bad. 2 under 20 is what I like to call them.
You drove for 2 miles farther down the road on 3 wheels. People don't drink Four Locos because they like the taste. Your plan was to get drunk and drive home. The other problem is you drove here today. Well, you didn't die, but it says here there was an accident with a fatal crash.
That wasn't at fault.
You can drive, but you won't make it all the way home.
Today we have 2 cases from 3B involving bad drivers. In the first case, the defendant is being sentenced on his second drunk driving at the ripe old age of 20. He was crunk, hit another car, and lost the wheel.
Just a flesh wound.
So he continued another 2 miles through White Pigeon before a well-placed tree got in his way. He lost. The second case is another dumbass who drove while suspended to Judge Middleton's court, which you heard really pisses him off. He'd throw all of them in jail were he not under orders to reduce the jail population because of construction. Make sure you stick around for this one. Let's roll, nerds.
This is in the matter of People versus Angel or Angel Jesus Gonzalez Lozada. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Your Honor.
You're here with your lawyer, Jordan Harden. Also present is Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Gary Gabry. I said not exactly in jest. This is like deja vu all over again. We'd have several of these where young men are not even 21 yet and getting a history of drinking, driving convictions with accidents. The charge was operating while intoxicated. Second, defendant pled to operating while impaired. No, operating while intoxicated. First offense, blood alcohol was 0.179. Mr. Huff did his usual fine job of a screening report and make some recommendations, and I'm not sure what to do here, frankly. Ms. Harden, I understand that Matt will be here in just a moment. He's wrapping up his phone call, but we are starting a little early. What would you like me to know?
Thank you, Your Honor. As the court is aware, this is unfortunately kind of a string of a pattern of behaviors that we are seeing in our youth. I think the difference here is that Mr. Gonzalez-Lozada is extremely aware of how bad this could have been and how his behaviors need to change. And I think Mr. Huff did a good job kind of recognizing that in his assessment that he's prepared. Prior to sentencing, my client did get involved in outpatient treatment at Pines Behavioral Health. That assessment was submitted to the court directly from the facility. He's engaged in services through them. I think Mr. Gonzalez-Lozada is a good candidate for probation. He's remorseful for his actions and he's ready to exercise change in a way that will ensure he will not be back before this court. I'd ask the court to consider imposing the term of probation that has been requested, but reserving on the remaining jail time. I know Mr. Huff's requesting weekends. However, my client is employed. He's actively engaged in treatment. And I think that just the notion that this jail time is hanging over his head will be enough of a deterrent that he will continue on an appropriate path. So I would ask the court to consider deviating from the recommendation in the sense that any jail time be deferred, that he be placed on the probation and all other terms recommended. Thank you.
Mr. Gabry, what's your thought here?
Yeah, I would almost agree with Ms. Harden, with the exception of the fact that this is not his first time drinking and driving. As the court's well aware from the incident reports, one man could have been killed when he crossed the center line and crashed into his car. Then he left and he went and crashed into another place where he was then caught. Blood alcohol was 0.16, or that was the PBT. But he's definitely well over the legal limit. And, I realize he was intoxicated at the time, but, telling the officer, oh, no, I'm fine. It was just slippery. again, speaks somewhat ill of the fact that he doesn't seem to understand. I certainly agree with the idea of probation. And I understand that this court does a lot of jail, but then deferring it. This is a crime that's punishable by up to 93 days in jail, thanks to the offer that was made. And I just think that probation, sure, but also a period of jail. And you just give him what you would give him. And then if he screws up on probation, he's still got more time to do. But I do think that this type of behavior on this occasion twice with a prior means we do have to put some of the emphasis on punishment in order to deter other young men from doing this. So combination of jail and probation, I think, would be appropriate.
Thank you. As Mr. Huff says, this case is about as aggravated as they come. The defendant was last convicted of operating while impaired in early 2024. Not even 1 year later, he was cited for this offense. Several things concern me about this whole thing. It should be noted that the defendant is not yet 21 years old. Any use of intoxicant is classified as substance abuse. When I talked to him about the frequency of his alcohol consumption, he estimated his use to be approximately 3 times per year. I don't believe that. He also smokes marijuana, and he purchased 5 blunts, and you're not old enough to smoke marijuana. And the likelihood that in addition to this alcohol, you had marijuana in your system. You drank some shots of something and 4 Locos. People don't drink 4 Locos because they like the taste. They drink them to get drunk. And you were gonna drive. It's like you didn't learn a thing from the earlier drunk driving conviction. Friday, December 20th, it's Christmas season. And you worked all day and you're drinking shots of something and 4 Locos. They found a 4 Loco in your car without any thought about just driving. You were taking the back roads. I don't know if you were going from Sturgis back to Bronson, but the reason people often take the back roads is because they've been drinking. You're going east on Fawn River Road toward Branch County. I'll just read it the way it's written here. He drifted into the oncoming lane as a vehicle approached. He attempted to maneuver his vehicle back into the appropriate lane. In the process, the tail end of his truck struck the side of an oncoming passenger car. He continued eastbound on Fawn River Road for 1.9 miles. It should be noted that his passenger side wheel was found at the scene of the accident. You drove for 2 miles farther down the road on 3 wheels. Then you almost crashed into a house. The road wasn't slippery. You were drunk and you had 3 wheels and you almost hit this house, instead hit a tree. So this was a 2010 Chevy pickup, probably pretty solid. Probably didn't have an airbag. Did it have an airbag?
It didn't.
Did it go off? I don't know what happened to the people in the other car. I don't know if that was there before. I couldn't tell from what I was looking at, but apparently there was no serious or aggravated injury. And Ms. Harden indicated, and Mr. Gabriel's seen these for years, but we've had a recent rash of young men driving terribly intoxicated with accidents where fortunately the Lord must be looking out for St. Joe County, because any one or all of these could have been fatal accidents, including this one. These other people and you, one guy pulled a U-turn and hit a car full of people, and he had 4 people in his own car. The other guy had a bong between his legs and he crashed into a tree and got pinned in the car. His passenger called 911 from being squished inside this car. None of those people, as far as I could tell, received any serious or aggravated injuries or died. So the judge you went in front of in Branch County the first time was Judge Weigel. If you were in front of Judge Weigel right now, you would be losing the next 3 months of your life. He would give you 93 days in jail. I'm fairly confident of that. Maybe we have a different view of things over here, but this still is a cause for considerable concern. You're too young to go into sobriety court. You're not ready to make the changes that you need to make. You're going to lose your driver's license. It's going to be revoked. You're not even 21 and you're going to have a revoked driver's license, which means it might take as long as 5 years to get it back. And even then, you're going to have to show sobriety. Mr. Huff has ordered the last guy, he just went right from the courtroom to jail. I wanted to get his attention. What do your parents think about this?
My parents are they're very disappointed, but they still help me throughout all of this. And my mother, she's blind, she cannot see. So she can only mentally feel everything. And she is just as ashamed herself as she is for me. She knows that I messed up again and I didn't learn. My father, he's a very good person. He's a person who does not indulge in any of that. He's a very good role model, and I still fail to meet that. And he's also disappointed, but he still helps me through.
Well, they're all glad they didn't go to your funeral. I don't know where you thought you were going to go with a 3-wheeled truck, but maybe it's just as well you hit a tree, because I don't think that has a happy ending if you just keep on going down the road. Mr. Huff, again, you do another one of these tough assignments. And you've made a recommendation. You wish to add anything?
I would like to speak on this. If you read the report, it might sound like I'm the defense attorney, because the case facts are just so bad. They don't get much worse. And I think the court's heard me say that recently. I've had at least 3 cases of 2 under 20 is what I like to call them. 2 drunk drivings under 20 years old, or at 20 years old, under 21 at the bare minimum. So yeah, there's a bad rash of these. Typically, I was a hair away from just making a recommendation for 90 days in jail. We had difficulty getting a hold of Mr. Gonzalez Lozada, and fortunately, his attorney got in touch with him. He reached back out to me. We snuck in this screening at the last second. I was happy that we actually got to meet, because in comparing this case to the other cases that I've had, he shows about 10 times more remorse. I don't think he's ready for a sobriety court. I don't think he quite gets it to that degree due to his age. I don't think it's anything of his own fault, so to speak, but he spent 10 minutes on the phone talking to me about how sorry he is. And that's something that is almost always lacking in these sort of situations. So that's why my recommendation is significantly lighter. Thankfully, no one was hurt. The police report indicates there was no one hurt. There's a small claims case that was essentially having a debt that Mr. Gonzalez Lozada owed. So he's working on paying that back. He lives in Branch County, not gonna have a driver's license. So again, another hurdle that has to be cleared, but I talked to him specifically and pressed, how are you gonna make it back and forth the requirements if the judge grants a probation? And he said, I have a ride to and from work. It's my dad, my aunt. They both work in Angola. Between those two, I can rely on them. I know that we have testing that we can utilize in cold water to make sure. So this is something that I'm willing to go out on a ledge and make a recommendation for probation, despite how difficult it may be, because that's how we can impact the change potentially. It's up to Mr. Gonzalez Lozada if he wants to change his life, if he wants to do things differently from now on. But I do believe that he had a come to Jesus moment when he got into that accident. And I think that he gets it to the degree that he can. So instead of a recommendation with just pure jail, I did recommend some community work service to essentially mitigate how much jail he's serving. But jail's appropriate. You can't be getting your second drunk driving at the age of 20, twice the legal limit, crashing into somebody, and then ultimately into some trees, and there not be some sort of a consequence. So I would ask, he's employed, he has a good job down there, auto form in Angola. So I would recommend that if you do impose jail, that we serve it on weekends, and that he just essentially serve the weekends right away, that we can get those done and over with. But that's my recommendation.
Well, I'm gonna follow it. No two cases are ever exactly alike. The guidelines call for 20 to 25% of the maximum. I'm gonna order 12 months probation, 30 days jail credit 1, leaving 29 days to serve. Of the 29 days ordered, 25 are deferred. So there's 4 days to do on weekends, which will be scheduled by the probation department. There's a $300 fine and costs, $75 crime victims' rights fee, $50 state minimum fee, a $100 screening fee, $150 attorney fee. This is an expensive proposition. Probation oversight fee is $480. Police reimbursement of $255. An accident with a blood draw, St. Joe County Sheriff's Department. You didn't order the victim impact panel?
He's already completed it, Your Honor. He's also engaged in substance abuse services.
All right, we'll continue with substance abuse counseling and treatment. 24 hours community service work. Mr. Gabriel made a point. I can give you what I give you, and if you don't do it, then I can give you 90 days in jail, I guess. So the hope is that you will comply with this. Abstain from the use of alcohol and controlled substances, including marijuana. Are you 21 now?
No, Your Honor.
So you're not old enough to smoke marijuana anyway. And while you're on this probation, you're going to be off anything unless it's prescribed. 24 hours of community work service. Let's add those fines and costs up. Sign a release. So we can talk to your treatment provider. 300 plus 125 in state costs plus $100 screening fee, 150 attorney fee, 480 probation oversight fee, and 255 police reimbursement is 1,410. Theoretically, you could be done with this probation in 6 months. I'm thinking this may take all 12, but we'll see.
I'll do my best to meet the requirements.
All my hope is that you don't get in any more trouble. Also, no driving.
I've learned my lesson now.
One guy that went to jail last week, he got a drunk driving in, let's say, January. He drove a car in February with a suspended license. He drove a car in March, but he drove 2 more times suspended after he got arrested for drunk driving. You had a valid license. You got an impaired the first time around, you completed that sentence, and you had either a restricted license or, did he have a restricted?
Should have had it fully reinstated by that point. I'm not sure if he
I
actually had
looked
gone
at it.
done that or not, but it was 9 months after his conviction it was entered, so.
I think it was.
It was restricted, Your Honor. I didn't read it.
It was what?
It was restricted.
Yeah, so well, the restrictions did not include driving drunk without it on the way to or from work. So this also violated your, you had a valid license, but it was restricted. So you weren't supposed to be driving anyway. So just bad. You weren't supposed to be driving, you're drunk. Your plan was to get drunk and drive home, which was a bad plan right from the start. Sometimes people's plan is, well, I was gonna drink and my friend was gonna drive home. And they left with somebody else and I got stuck there. Or I went to sleep and I woke up and I thought I was safe to drive home. Your plan was to get drunk and drive home. And you weren't supposed to be driving anyway. So this could result in a significant jail sentence if the probation isn't completed. I'm not going to order restitution, but I am going to order you to pay your small claims case.
Your Honor, just to apprise the court, for that small claims case, I believe victim's mother she contacted my office Friday after hours to indicate that she had hoped to write a letter on behalf of my client just to say he is complying with those payments. So I don't think that will be an issue.
All right, I don't think it will be either.
Thank you.
But I want to make sure that they get compensated. All right, I want you to go with Mr. Huff. You're going to start your probation. You're only 20. Things can get a whole lot better from here, but I sure don't want to read your obituary for hitting a tree. I had a guy, I'm not going to mention his name, who successfully completed sobriety court. And he was driving his car too fast down Fawn River Road at a .16 and he hit a tree, and I got to read about his obituary. I got dozens of stories like that. I just soon you not do that. All right, sir, you're good to go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Matthew. All right, Aaron Weaver. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
As I mentioned, there's problems with each of the cases today. Let's talk about yours. This is file number 25734. ST, which stands for statute of traffic. You got charged with driving suspended first offense on April 18th, Kalamazoo Street and Indian Prairie Road. Driving suspended is a misdemeanor. It's punishable by up to 93 days in jail and a fine of up to $500. Carries 2 points on your record and requires your license be suspended. The Secretary of State says that you are suspended, at least as of the day they ran this, which was April 23rd. You also have a careless driving ticket.
That's why it's suspended, I guess. After I called them.
From 2023.
Yes.
You never paid the ticket, $195.
I
So that
honestly-
may be why you're suspended. I
Yeah,
can't
that's
tell.
what she said after talking with her.
You also had some Indiana stuff. So first thing you gotta do is pay that. The other problem is you drove here today. Don't you ever watch this? So I don't know if I should just put you in jail now and save a lot of time, or allow you to drive home and have you pulled over on the way home and have your car impounded and you go to jail. So you obviously don't have a lot of respect for the system. You got a ticket, you didn't pay it. You drove with a suspended license, and then you drove here, which is, I take a personal insult. The careless was actually a crash. Speed too fast, had been drinking, had been using controlled substances. I'm not sure what that's about. I guess I could look it up, but they, well, that was a different incident.
That was,
Anyway, have you done anything to try to get your license back?
so I only found out it was suspended after, or why it was suspended. After calling her yesterday to reschedule my court. I called Indiana. He said it was from Indiana. So I called all the counties I could think of in Indiana, and they said they don't have anything.
Well, who told you this? Our court or the Secretary of State?
Indiana said they don't have anything.
Well, Michigan says you're suspended.
Okay.
Um,
Then your court said yesterday it's probably suspended from that ticket I didn't pay.
That's possible. They used to suspend you for not paying tickets, which I completely agreed with, but they stopped
too.
doing it. Let's go back here. You got in a fatal accident.
I did.
Well, you didn't die, but it says here there was an accident with a fatal crash. And you
Two
got
people.
sent for a re-exam to the Driver License Appeal Division in 2023.
And I did that.
Where was the crash?
Indian Prairie Road, White Pigeon.
Oh, I guess I should remember that case. How old are you?
I'm 25.
All right. Indian Prairie. This wasn't the crash where you were selling FFA stuff, was it?
No.
All right. There was a young man who was with some other kids selling advertising for an FFA program or something, and no drugs, no alcohol involved. The kid just crossed the center line and killed a man and totally devastated his family. Well, I'm not sure what to do. You're suspended.
But yeah, I want to know why as well, I guess.
Well, because you're gonna need to go to the Secretary of State.
They told me to do that reassessment or something. Or driver
Yeah, you're
evaluation.
suspended because you were in a fatal traffic accident.
But I did that assessment. That's what I don't understand. She said I'm okay. Good to go.
Driver assessment, re-examination type fatal crash, decision 7/24, decision indefinite suspension. You got indefinitely suspended by the Driver License Appeal Division last March for being involved in a fatal crash. Is that the careless case? Did you get cited? Did you get charged with anything in the
No.
fatal crash?
No,
Um,
I wasn't at fault. I don't know.
I don't know, but that's why you're suspended, and they told you were involved in an accident that killed someone.
And that's why I did the assessment. I thought I did it.
You did the assessment,
Yeah.
but they denied you anyway
Okay.
after the hearing, and I'm sure they told you that. What's this? No proof of insurance. So you're also driving around with no insurance.
I have no excuse for that. I didn't renew it on that truck.
Gee whiz.
I have it on my other vehicles. I just, not that truck. There's no excuse for it.
Well, you don't need a vehicle. Cause. So defendant called to reset his arraignment. Said he would be paying this ticket. Yeah, they called, they told you, hey buddy, you got an open ticket. You said you were building a house and forgot about this ticket. So we're gonna need to get that careless ticket paid.
I can do that.
But the fatal accident doesn't show up in our system. So you've got a no proof of insurance civil infraction ticket that's percolating out there. You've got an unpaid careless driving ticket from 2023. You have this charge of driving suspended. You're suspended because you were involved in a fatal accident. The Secretary of State had a hearing. You responded to the hearing, and after the hearing, they gave an indefinite suspension. And you should be aware of that.
Yes, sir.
But I don't know what, plus you drove here. So, Mr. Stickley, what's your thought?
My thought would be for today, enter a not guilty plea, set for a pretrial, see if he can get some further answers, maybe take care of a citation if it's still hanging out there. We discussed the matter while Your Honor was waiting in the hallway about driving. He'll get a ride. He won't drive.
Well, you can drive home, but you won't make it all the way home. You'll be arrested and your car will be impounded.
Yeah, I don't think that's an option that he cares to
Yes,
exercise. Your Honor.
but I'm offended by the fact that he's so cavalier about this.
Yes, Your Honor. He was honest about it though.
Yes, he will. By that point, he was had. All right, we're set a pretrial. Defendant to check on status. You need to go to the Secretary of State's office.
Okay.
You have an unpaid careless. Which is 2302000. You have an unpaid, no proof of insurance. From this. So you're driving around, well, you can't get insurance because you don't have a license. So you can't get insurance because your license is suspended. So the bottom line is you need to just stop driving. Where do you work?
I own a concrete company.
Do you have guys on your crew that can drive you around?
Yes.
All right, well, let's set this out about a month. I suspect that you've been driving all along and you don't want to do it again.
I was, so I got pulled over. I honestly didn't know it was suspended. Yeah.
Well, I don't believe you. They go through a whole hearing. I don't believe the Secretary of State didn't inform you that you were suspended.
They did, and they gave me a paper. So I went and made an appointment, went up there and talked with her. She drove around with me. Talked with me.
Okay, so you had a review and then after that, they still suspended you.
Mhm.
I'm not sure, but anyway, you need to go to the Secretary of State, find out what you need to do. It's an odd circumstance that you were in a fatal accident. You didn't get a ticket, but the Secretary of State, the officer involved, would have referred you for a review. They gave you one. Apparently you did the driving and then they declined to give you your license back. So let's set this pretrial for a Thursday. June 12th. At 8:30. Tuesday, June 12th. Paid tickets.
I pay all those tickets today.
Well, you don't have to pay them today, but it will help. What Mr. Stickley's gonna do is try to get the prosecutor to give you some consideration. I don't, as judge, I don't have the authority to alter the charge, but it would help your cause if all your unpaid tickets were paid off.
I can do that.
And if you'd like to go to jail, drive to court that day, and I can make arrangements for you to spend some time at our jail. Stop driving
Yes, sir.
till you get yourself squared away with the Secretary of State. All right, you're gonna need to wait to have somebody come get you and your car. All right, you're good to go.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoy watching this content, please like and subscribe. It helps new channels like this one gain exposure. There is a lot more good court to come, so if you like what you saw, tell your friends. If you didn't, tell me and let me know what you'd like to see and how I can improve. Thanks.